takes the
man.
card and cuts off the head of the deer, that's what he's gonna do. Whoever in the front row, watch out.
Okay, well, let's get started while this waits to download. Shane, you have anything you want to visit about at all?
Sure I do if I get my vaccine out here.
What are your thoughts on the assessments for phase one?
Well, the easiest thing to do is what we had said before. I know we have to have a basis for the amount. I think we just have to figure out the amount that needs to be assessed and divided by the property owners in the area, and that's the number.
When do you want to have a meeting on that, and then we can come up with some of
I
the,
want to have the hearing the first meeting in November.
okay,
Just in order to get it on the taxes, we'll have to have it
yeah, just like, yeah.
done by the end of November. Okay.
Jump in,
Yeah.
because I threw a wrench in it.
So the notices that go out, the one in the paper has to include the total amount to be assessed. It doesn't have to be dead on, they can go down. And then the one that goes out in the paper in the mail, needs to have what that particular property is getting assessed, and that can't go up. So obviously what you set out, you don't want to have it too high to make everybody mad, but you don't want to make it too low because you can't go up. But that has to go out, if we did it on the 13th, the mailed one has to go out a week from today, the 30th. And the newspaper notice would actually, I sent one kind of as a placeholder to Seth today, that would have to get published on Wednesday of this week if we did it on the 13th, if we did it on the 27th. It still need to be set tonight because there's 3 weeks before the next meeting, but you have a little more time to maybe meet and,
If we could meet tomorrow and come up with, this,
Yeah.
A, B, C, not to exceed this, and still get it printed.
yeah, so what would go in the paper would be more than the total, which is okay.
Yeah,
So you can still set it for the 13th and then,
You want the committee to meet, right?
I think we should, yeah. I think that way everybody's on board, nobody gets a surprise. I mean, that's,
so then what would go out in the mail would be what the committee decides on, in not necessarily, the council wouldn't have had approved it yet, but, I don't know, maybe the council can say a minimum and a maximum and like, you know what I mean? If we were gonna do it on the 13th. And we have to do it by the 30th of November. It needs to be certified to the county by then.
So it can be pushed off.
It can be pushed off, there's 2 more regular meetings, and assuming you wanna do it during a regular meeting.
yeah.
What's the high amount?
Well,
What's the amount like you're putting in the paper, do we even know that?
the total would be I think 582,000, which is based on, the number that on the bond for if you recall, you have to do 20% of the amount bonded for the improvement bonds. That was like 532. And there were like 95 properties total. So we just kind of backed into, based on the 532 divided by the 90 some properties, came up with 5,000 to 6,000. And the number we're putting in the paper right now, and we can change it before, tomorrow morning?
Wednesday.
Well, the paper goes out Wednesday, but when would we have to change the
I need it by
noon tomorrow?
noon, early afternoon.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, so we use the high side, 6,000, and those 90 some properties to get to the 580, whatever. It doesn't have to be an exact number that goes in the paper, so we just inflated it a little bit.
That's okay with the council.
Yeah,
We
that's,
should come up with the language as to how we come to that, so we got a way, in the event that there are any appeals, is it, even at that low of an assessment, it's gonna be awful tough to justify the property value increase.
But we are still referring to these as hookup, is that what
Right.
we're doing?
Oh,
But
I mean, technically, you'd have a sewer hookup and a water line hookup, so really you could look at it as a 3,000,
Fee
a
base.
fee base for each,
Fee-based assessment, yeah.
instead of a total
I guess you
dollar.
have more wiggle room, yeah.
Well, so then it wouldn't necessarily be 6 per property, because there are several properties that are only getting sewer, particularly on, between Center Street and First Street. The sewer's going down the alley, so they're getting a new sewer main, but their water isn't getting touched on this project. So if you called it 3 and 3, obviously you could only charge them 3 if they're only getting the sewer.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
point, and I didn't realize that, so we'd have to address.
That's why
that.
you need to sit down and have the committee meet and get that.
Do we know what that
down.
number is? How many
Would
have?
The majority of them are getting both.
Majority are?
Yeah, there's maybe, I think there's 90-some properties, there's maybe 10 or 15 that only have one.
What did we ever decide on the sump pump hookup? Can we tie that in there too? Is there, or do we know how many are, I'm assuming that we had to do something at the storm sewer where that's gonna tap into, or did we not? Do they have to do that when they put it in themselves?
Yeah, we just provide a stub. If they already had something out to the street, we'd hook them up.
Right,
But if they had something laid over the ground or whatever, we just provide a stub.
right, so we know the houses that have a sump pump,
Yep.
so we put a stub there?
Well, even if they don't have a sump pump, we put a
We
stub.
put a stub in every one?
Yeah.
So technically, we could do a hookup fee for that too. I mean, if we wanted to figure out a way to
Yeah.
take that same number and divide it up to make it look perception-wise.
So if these are hookup fees, do they even have to follow 429?
Well,
I mean, do they still get put on the taxes, or are they?
If you're gonna assess them,
Yeah, so you assess the hookup fee, okay.
Well, just meet tomorrow, and, what the parameters are, like, with the highest it can go is what? What did we say?
6, I believe.
And just work from that.
If you take that 582 and divide it by 95, which is how many properties? It's like
Somewhere, yeah,
It's like 6126 is the
yeah,
total.
so I think it's maybe in the higher 90s then, or something. Or 582 might not be exactly right either, but,
Yeah, so,
Before we've got to work out the,
yeah.
because the store, in that project area, not everybody's getting a water hookup.
Right.
But they're all getting a water line improvement. Not everybody's getting a sewer hookup, but they're all getting sewer improvement.
Well, they're not even all necessarily getting a water,
Well,
like,
I know, but.
Yeah.
But it's there, though.
And the storm sewer's getting reworked through all that area there too,
yes.
so.
But, yeah, but like even the main that serves a house, most of them are, but there are some houses that main isn't getting touched.
Right.
Because all we're doing is the sanitary in their alley.
Right.
But the water's out in the street. And some are getting new street, and some are only getting the alley.
That's.
But it wouldn't be tough to go through and tabulate how many water hookups will they have, how many sewer hookups will they have, and how many are gonna be on an improved street. Just use that as a starting point tomorrow.
So can you guys meet tomorrow or the next day or whatever?
I'm available tomorrow.
Who else is on that?
And you even ask, I showed it to you that day, can you pull it up on the server?
Oh.
Your
Steve,
reports?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. I thought it was the two of you, but I don't remember.
Go to City of Tracy.
is it? I don't think,
Contents. There you go. And then go to to boards. and
If we could do it
Special
right away in the
Assessment
morning,
Committee.
I would be available.
if you could, 'cause I gotta go, I'm not gonna be, I didn't think I was on there. Am I on there?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's, this time it was Madonna, so it'd be me, Rosemary Martin, Tony Peterson, Steve Fairson. Need 4 people.
Was that appointed by, is that what?
Well, can you do it tomorrow morning?
Well, if it's right away, first thing I can, otherwise after 9 o'clock I'm shot.
8 o'clock?
It shouldn't take that long, I would think.
Hey, well, you can mail over with your information or?
I won't be here, but I can call in, if that works. If you still have the Skype thing, I can even share a screen and everything, and we can do it on this.
Set up, but
Yeah.
Well, maybe it'd be better to meet on Wednesday.
Wednesday, I think would work.
then after tomorrow, I'm not available all week. if you are.
I'll be available Wednesday. 8 o'clock Wednesday? And you can phone in, you said?
Yeah, if that works, I mean,
Then we can, that'll be soon, then we can get that to Seth, is what we gotta do by noon on Wednesday then,
no, noon tomorrow.
Oh, that's why they're meeting tomorrow. That's right, that's right,
Yeah,
that's
but,
right.
but what's going to Seth only needs to be the total. What goes out in the mail has to be,
Oh.
here's how much your
right?
property
Oh,
is.
then we're okay then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll meet Wednesday, 8 o'clock here. And you'll phone it.
So somebody will have to get a hold of Rosemary and let her know, see if she can.
8 o'clock. Wendell, do you want to visit so you don't have to wait around here for,
Yeah.
till it starts snowing?
Well, Shane had forwarded to me the applications that you had in hand, and with the exception of 2 that came today, had the opportunity to.
It actually came last week, but I forwarded it to you guys.
They were really not a factor, but there's a total of 13. And we typically, rate on a 100-point scale, including veterans' preference. I would tell you that I don't believe there's anyone in that group of 13 who would crack our minimum standard for an interview. They generally don't have any applicable municipal experience. Some have an applicable degree, but no relevant experience that would, in my mind, make them a candidate for your position. A number of them are simply applications from people wishing to change professions, a couple of ministers, some people in the social work area, and a number of private sector individuals in banking or credit union loan officer. So based on that, I don't really see any candidates here that I would consider serious candidates for your position.
So you recommend that we reopen it?
I would recommend that, work up a different job description and do more expansive publication and set a timeline of roughly 90 days to accomplish it.
Okay.
Be happy to do that if that is your wish.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you redo the job application and, the
Description.
requirements, description,
Yes.
and all that? I would suggest that's what we do.
To take some of the work off Shane, do you have an interim that you could find an interim, or?
It might be a little difficult right at the moment, but I will certainly check into that, and I can report back to you in a few days. I just placed one, so I don't have a large
Don't have a big pool.
retinue of folks that are available. I try to use retired administrators because they tend to obviously have the most experience and can step in and really kind of get up to speed fairly quickly. So,
Did you get those folders that were zipped?
yes, I
You got
did.
them open?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did. I'm a little bit computer challenged. I grew up in that generation where we didn't yet have them.
Oh.
So I learn as I go along. But I believe I forwarded to the city attorney our short form agreement, and if he finds it acceptable, would ask your consideration of the agreement.
Oh, I did, and I think I forwarded back to Shane as well.
And it should be in the packet.
Okay, well, I think we'll go with your recommendation. That's, appreciate the input. Getting an interim in here would be helpful, because I saw Shane's face turn a different shade of white when he realized it was gonna be open another 90 days. I don't think he anticipated that, but so be it. So yeah, we'll follow your recommendations, and if you have, recommendations or someone that would be able to fill an interim, it'd be terrific.
I will check into that, see who's available, and see if we can work that out, and I'll be back in contact with you.
Appreciate it, Wendell. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay? And I'll work up a schedule and get it to you. Try to be cognizant of the holidays.
Yep.
And everything for, it's that time of the year, obviously, that we're getting into, so. Require, and you meet the second and fourth Mondays, right?
Correct.
We'll try to coordinate that into the schedule.
Except December, we only have one meeting.
One meeting, and so we only have three meetings, or, well, actually, yeah, 3 meetings after
Three.
tonight, the remainder of the year. So in our regular meeting, we'll take formal action on
Yep.
that and then get that to you tomorrow, is that the plan?
I would anticipate, you know, that it's gonna take a month of advertisement, so we'll be pushing to that January time period to finalize it.
I noticed on the contract was January 18. Do you want to add a month on that, or is that going to give you enough time? Or
I assumed I would have it complete by the end of January, so, if not, we can extend.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks.
Sandy, you want to go so you don't have to?
I guess I was just wondering how long we're gonna leave the patio open? And do we wanna just bring the patio furniture back inside, or, I don't know, you were gonna have that surplus sale if you wanted to, I think you have a list of that.
That's in the agenda packet.
Has anybody been using it, Sandy, the last couple days, you know? Or?
I didn't unlock it today because I walked out there and it was really windy and cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can probably move them in for the year.
Move 'em in.
Yep, lock it up.
Okay.
And move them in.
Oh, do you have any questions?
Nope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief?
I don't have anything more to add to my report really, other than we're working on some mandated training that's gotta get completed by the end of the year, so. Be, cold weather night shoot tonight for us, so.
I'd like to thank you for being so prompt on the budget. I appreciate that. I learned a lot. So, thank you.
Okay. All right,
Anything?
any comments on the activity levels or anything? Pretty standard stuff,
At least you have a memory for Boxcar Days this year.
every year.
All right, thank you, Jason.
Yep.
Thanks.
Tara, do you want to go so you don't have to wait around?
Sure. I have our EDA budget meeting set up with Pam for Thursday, so we'll be going over our EDA budget with her then. We closed on the Fifth Street apartments, which I think everybody knew. Our bond payoff will be coming up here in November, which is actually sort of a big deal. Our bond payoff is $254,000 plus interest, so roughly $257,000, which is kind of exciting to decrease our townhome rentals from 24 to 16. So that is good. Jeff's on board here, kind of day one of a full day training, and I think his mind's probably going crazy, but getting him brought on board, so he'll be doing the next monthly department head report. So this might be my last one, actually. Bittersweet. What else? We have a conciliation court scheduled for one of our revolving loan funds that are late, chronically late. The other one did actually come in and pay after we sent them certified letters through Matt, so that is good. Trying to think of anything else that was not on the department head report. If anybody had any questions on what's on there.
So,
Well-
when is there gonna be any movement with the rooster one? I mean, of any type?
Well, the property actually closed a couple days ago.
Okay.
There will be a huge press release next week, so stay tuned.
Okay.
Yeah. Exciting, right? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, and then we're also going to talk about listing Third Street apartments or advertising them for sale. That'll be a topic at our next EDA meeting. So we feel that after the sale of Fifth Street, our next logical step is to look at Third Street East and start marketing those for sale. They've kind of unofficially been for sale, but there's not been a for sale sign in the yard. It hasn't really been advertised, so that's something that we will look at. It'll be up for discussion.
All right. Anything for Tara?
All right. Oh, contractor of choice. That's all sold and closed too. So
Good,
yeah.
thank you.
Speaking of that, did Jeff get a hold of you and let you know that I talked to Mike and they have plans for that lot, so if it falls through, if with the EDA or the city needs them, contact them and be willing to work with you.
Good. Okay. Good. Perfect. Thank you.
I had to say that before I forgot it.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks.
Shane, is there,
As most of you may have realized, the water tower's repaired now. They still need to do the interior stuff. They're looking at taking it down, I think it's Tuesday?
31st.
Yeah, it'll be the 31st, Tuesday next week. So we'll be putting out a notice this week, in the papers to have people conserve water during that time. So they can get those repairs done. We're hoping it lasts no more than a week. So hopefully nothing major there. Other than that, surplus sale list we got together, quite an extensive list. You know, there's some junk sitting the highway, the old state shop building, so.
How are you gonna conduct that again, Shane?
We're gonna have a viewing day, that we did last time, or a couple viewing days at different times, and then we're gonna put, everything, photographed, so we'll put, the list with the picture by it on the city website, and they'll have to turn in like the sealed bid to City Hall by a certain time. So, generally.
So it won't be online then, it'll all be paper bids or?
Paper bids or, yeah, that'd be about 5 weeks to it, when it's sealed, so.
Are we gonna talk at all about what we're gonna do with the stuff that doesn't sell? Is there a source that
There
we
will
could
be.
get, there's gonna be stuff we're not gonna sell? Is there a source that we could, I'd just soon get rid of it. If we can't sell it, let's get it out of here.
Some of it, some people think it's valuable, and we look at it and think it should go in the garbage.
Right.
That's gonna be an option too, but.
I wonder if we contacted like, what's in Marshall, the,
Beckers?
Alter Meadow? Not Becker.
No,
No, I'm talking about the secondhand store and.
Oh,
the
the
Goodwill.
Habitat resale?
You got
Habitat?
resale place, you got Goodwill. I wonder if some of them wouldn't be willing to take it.
Depends on what it is. I mean, like the liquor store had like, cups and tables and stuff like that. I mean.
Well, I know there's boxes and boxes of glass,
Yep.
cups, shot glasses, I mean, that basement, the last time still quite a few, right, Sandy? I would think that, I mean, even if we gave them to them and they put them on their shelves for 10 or 20 cents, if they, you know, they at least could sell them, that's all. I'm just wondering if we.
Right now, we need to make room, cause winter's coming.
Right, that's what I'm
We'll put
thinking,
stuff
should we
inside.
I'm thinking we should just make a decision that we, whatever we don't sell after that sale, we offer it to Goodwill, and if there's something they don't want, then we throw it in the garbage.
that'll work.
I think we could just leave that, give Shane that authority to do that, and then just, that'll get it out of your area and out of your area, whatever's there.
We got a lot sitting outside that needs to go in before it gets too cold, and we're gonna start, so. So yeah, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that list.
It's a long list.
Yeah.
It's a very long list. Well, I think some stuff on there will sell.
Part-timers, rainy day jobs, so. Have to look at my, as far as the admin, we've been working on the budget, obviously, the details of that petition that went out. And then, getting everything submitted for the monthly stuff for the reimbursement from the bonds for phase 1 and phase 2. We gotta prepare all that for USDA, and they gotta approve it before we can pay it, so. There's a little paper trail there. I can find my report here. I missed it. Is that the bottom? Yeah. Like way down?
Right past this. There.
Okay. I guess I asked any department head that haven't met with their council member, I sent an email out last week to do that as sooner than later so we can get the numbers put together and wrapped up. I guess the other thing I could touch on is likely be closing some of the parks, but all this swiftly, probably this week. It's looking like it's gonna get down in the 20s a little ways, so.
And you just, you automatically do the gazebo too, right? Shut the water off?
We actually did that one, that last freeze, was when they're outside on above ground. They
Yeah, good. Thank you.
I'll be doing those winterizations this week, probably. Try to wait as long as we can, but it'll likely be midweek, so. Don't have too much else, so you guys have any questions?
Nope.
You mentioned budget. When should we get together again and compare our numbers? Another budget meeting, or just do it at the next council meeting? Or
We'll do it at the next council meeting. I know I'm meeting with Val later this week. So I would just, let's just do it at the next council meeting.
Okay.
Do you want me to have them inputted then, so you guys know where the levy will be, or?
That'd be helpful. Because I think everybody, by the next council meeting, everybody would have met and figured out the numbers.
I know I met, and Tony, you said, you sound like you met with Jason.
Met with Jason, and I talked to the MPC board, and I haven't, Jim, I suppose we could sit down and walk through it one last time when you get a chance and explain it a little better to me. I know we touched on it at that meeting, but not a whole lot.
Numbers were pretty straightforward. I mean, the only big changes were because of wages.
What does that do, by?
End of November.
Because the other issue is until we get
We gotta figure that contract out
the
too.
pay and the health insurance, that could make a big,
Yep.
there's a pretty good swing potentially on that. So.
Was it a freezer that you guys needed over there?
Yep, there's a commercial freezer needed,
And that freezer on your surplus list doesn't fit that bill, or? Okay.
Gotta be NSF.
So, I don't know if the one in the Red Rooster works right now, but that one's gonna be up for sale or giveaway if it works, depending on what that status is, so I can do some checking on that.
Seems it probably depends what condition it's in.
It looked to be in decent condition. I know they were in working condition when the place closed. So that could be an option, a reasonable priced option.
Well,
I think they're,
Three's a good
fridges. I
price.
don't know if it's,
refrigerators and then what else is in
I can't remember as far as freezers, but there's 3 refrigerators for sure. So,
there? Unless they took the freezer out, there's at least gotta be one in there, so.
well, there's like a deep freeze with a slider thing on the top. Yeah, so I'm not sure.
That would work.
all right, any other questions for Shane? So the answer is, I think we'll discuss the budget in the next meeting. And then you should have the numbers from the department heads by then and plenty of time to be able to input what you need. Okay? Any other questions from anybody? Say, Matt, did you want to give a brief rundown before we start here at 6:30, like what exactly with the, I know I called you on the phone to talk with you about it, but the recall petition, exactly what we're required to do here tonight? That I think some of the misconception from people is that we're going to conduct a mini trial.
Sure. Yeah, it's basically an administrative function at this point. The way the charter reads, specifically section 5.07, is that upon receipt of the petition, it's upon the clerk to determine the sufficiency of the petition itself. And what that requires is basically an objective review of the petition itself and whether it complies with the requirements as set forth in the charter, not whether it's truthful or the veracity of the information contained in there. It's merely a checklist of, are there enough signatures on the petition? Are they verified by an individual who stated that they observed that the signatures are who they are? The voters are registered, which Shane did, and whether it alleges grounds of misfeasance or malfeasance. So long as those are met, then Shane submits that to the council, which he did, and the charter calls for a resolution to be passed for the holding of a special election. So there is not going to be any fact-finding by the council. The charter, the way that it's written is just that the petition needs to be determined sufficient, and then the council passes a resolution to hold the special election. And the special election is where kind of, it's almost a campaign of itself, so parties can campaign for yes or no.
Okay.
So that's really the trial. The election is the trial itself, if you look at it that way. But in terms of the council, what it needs to do, the charter specifies that the city council must and shall pass that resolution for the special recall election after it's determined sufficient by the city clerk, which occurred. So there's not going to be any fact finding by anyone.
Is there ever any fact finding?
No. Okay. So it's whether the requirements are met for the petition, and if they are, then it goes to a special election.
And Matt, I know when I talked to you, you said if we weren't a charter city, if we were a statutory, we would then have fact finding, just to give people like just an
Well, a statutory city, it's very difficult to remove a public officer. Basically, you have to be convicted of a felony, not attend 3 meetings, no longer live in the city, commit 3 violations of open meeting law, or some other significant crime or conduct. And in that way, you would have to petition and go through some sort of fact-finding procedure.
Okay.
But the way the charter is written, the city has to follow that. It's as also almost the city's constitution. So that's the way it was drafted. So we have to follow it.
Okay.
So in the finding of sufficiency, the signature of the affidavit say that I know these signatures to be true and valid, isn't questioned or is not able to be questioned? I mean,
Shane just has to look at the face of the petition and determine whether it complies. So if there's other evidence about some fraudulent signature or someone not signing it or being forced to sign, that would have to be brought to Shane's attention, because on the face of it, it doesn't appear, so he can seek out and investigate that.
But is it too late to do that then, is my question?
As of now, yes, but if there was some information that would somehow invalidate the petition, that could be brought to the attention of the clerk and the council, but that's almost after the fact. So that's also almost gets into a legal action. Because the determination's been made. Now
Right.
we can readdress that if there's some facts that would point to the conclusion that it was invalidated in some way.
My only question, and what I emailed you, was that my understanding of the petition is whoever certifies that those signatures are true and valid, we're supposed to have physically observed those people signing that.
Correct. The way the charter is written, it has to be verified, so to verify a signature, you have to observe it. That would make
And the
sense.
same individual signed saying they've seen these signatures.
Correct. They took an oath by the verification that that is a true signature of that individual. I
And
don't know how
if they-
you can verify without seeing it.
If for some reason they didn't observe those signatures, is there a way right now to?
That's a good question, because the charter doesn't have or state any way to review the sufficiency of it after the fact it's been made. But certainly the council and Shane, if brought to attention, could possibly do that. It's somewhat blank on that.
It's his blank, yeah, it's his blank is not being able to present any
Correct.
evidence. I mean, that was forgotten when the charter was made.
Correct.
But, and I support the process, don't get me wrong. But if we're gonna do this, we need to do it right. If you have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've got it in my mind, you got 5 people that have to organize this petition, 5 registered voters.
Sponsor, or
Sponsor
committee
the-
sponsors.
Yeah. In my mind, I'm damned with a logical mind, those 5 should be the ones pursuing the signatures for the petition, so they can honestly and truthfully say, that affidavit on this piece of paper, I'm turning in, I watched these people sign this. Instead of, oh, we got this step in the cleanup, here, give them all, I'll sign and take care of it. That's my problem. I don't think there was a clear process followed.
No, that logically that does track along what I think should happen. The charter just, it's very vague in a committee of 5 people, and one person needs to verify the signatures are true and correct of the person that signed it. So logically, yes, that makes sense that the committee would take the action and gathering the petitions and preparing it, circulating it, but there's nothing states that it prevents some other person from circulating it, gathering the signatures. So it's vague in that aspect. I agree with you.
But nothing that we can do about it, is what
No,
you're saying?
no. And I know the Charter Commission's meeting, I mean, that's another thing they may want to consider is creating some more definite language and procedures in some of the charter provisions of the city charter. Because this was drafted in 1974, so.
And I think at the time that it was drafted, the reasoning behind it would have followed the statute, where you actually had to been egregious and provable offense, whether you, instead of just what we've got going on right now.
And as I did get in my memo, the time frame in which the recall election is to be held conflicts with the state election laws, so that is in conflict as well. And that's why.
It's in February.
That's why the date, the next date would be February, I believe, 13th. And that would be the date the election would be held.
So let me ask you this, if citizens that did sign that, but maybe did under circumstances and now they wish they wouldn't have.
They can strike their votes.
Not anymore, Matt.
Oh, not
Not
after
after
it's
it's found
Once it's
sufficient.
been found sufficient, they
Okay.
can't do it anymore.
But if it's somehow fraudulently prepared or the person didn't sign it, then that's something that we would need to consider on taking action of some sort, because it doesn't provide a procedure for that, but I don't know how we would address that.
Right.
That's the question mark.
All right, well, I appreciate that, Matt, because I think there was an impression that we'd be here conducting a mini trial. And it certainly spells
Yes.
out that we're not actually conducting anything.
Correct. It's very objective.
Yep.
The requirements of the petition, on the face of it, are they met? Okay, then the council
Yep.
has to hold or pass a resolution for the holding of a recall.
Gotcha.
Two-step process.
That being said, you better throw another $1,200 in the budget for next year for elections.
Which we can't now, because we already approved the preliminary.
We'll have to.
Well,
You
we'll
have to take it
figure
from
something.
somewhere else, but
Yep. Well, we won't have any flowers out on 14, that'll replace that. Or somewhere, we'll just have to.
Well, it would even wind up being more than that, potentially. Because if there's a recall, then there's a spot, and we're not filling the spots anymore except through an election.
Right. And then there'd be another election.
Could be 2 special elections. The next special election
6
that could
months.
occur would be, I think,
So is that
in April.
April, I
Is
think.
it
is what it was.
75 after that then?
What's that?
Is it 75 days after that then? That we have
Yeah,
to go?
actually, it would be longer than that because the 74-day notice would probably be in May then. So
So
that
could you
I
run
don't
with
think you
4?
can.
So then are we running
I
with 4
suppose.
council people?
Yeah.
Yep.
Till the
There's
next
2 months.
Election, I could maybe,
Run with 4 until November.
yeah.
So, yeah.
We'll figure it. All right, I appreciate that, man. Anybody have anything else before we get going? I know, Andy, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about
How's
you guys?
Geronimo doing?
We're doing good.
Did you want to visit about anything, or?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys about our access easement to our site.
Okay, do you want to talk about it now so that we can get some of this stuff out of the way?
Sure. I think you guys have in your packets the updated access easement that we wanted to show you guys. But so essentially, we're really close to starting construction. We're hoping to get out there this week and actually start putting in the access road, starting to put in some of the piles, hopefully in early November, and modules in December. So our timelines on this have continued to kind of get pushed out because there were some interconnection studies that had to be redone with Excel, and the process just took a lot longer than it normally has on a lot of our other projects. But we're hoping to get the thing in good order here, November, December, and hopefully finish it by the end of the year. They may need to go construct a little bit beyond that, but that's the long and the short of it. So originally when we set up our access to the site, we were going kind of straight up 4th Street and over to the site where the future easement was platted. Excel came back to us after having designed their pole route to the site and said that they couldn't put poles in the location that we had the access easement because of some FAA restrictions. So they proposed moving the easement to a different route up to the site. And so I think you guys have the map that should show that updated route. But all we need to do is just sign the easement, and then we can put the road in and start construction.
Okay. Is there any problem with the easement, Shane?
It's the same document that was reviewed and approved before. It's just an amendment to the actual location.
Yeah, I was just asking if there was a problem with the change of location at all.
Sure.
We had quite a few discussions on that with Excel, so.
Isn't that's all you needed tonight, Andy?
That's all we need, is just
Well,
this.
yeah, then we can, he doesn't have to, we can, because we'll take action on that in the regular meeting, right?
Yep.
You're okay with it? Are you guys building the one up on Granite Falls, just north of Granite Falls? Is that your project?
Yeah, across from the,
Ethanol plant?
Yep, that's one of ours.
That is huge.
That's gigantic.
That's a 3 megawatt. That's the same size that this one will be.
Really?
Seriously? Wow, that,
Those guys are
seriously?
out there-
We've just got better panels.
I've been going up there early mornings
Uh-huh.
for meetings lately, and those guys are up there in the dark.
They
their
gotta get it in.
Floodlights and
We gotta get it in before the
like
end of the year.
5 in the morning, they're up there working. It's like unreal.
Yeah,
That's a
no,
big-
we're,
I didn't realize ours was gonna be that big.
yeah, it's a 3 megawatt. I think that one might be, the acreage might be a little bit larger, but it's the same megawatt size. We've got a 5 megawatt that's going in down in Pipestone. That one's almost finishing up as well. And then a 2 megawatt in Egerton.
And since he travels around and so did you do the one in Lester Prairie too?
Yep. That's a 5 megawatt one.
That's big too.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but we're excited about it. So, hopefully once construction starts, they'll really get going fast, and then
No, that's excellent.
we'll be in good shape.
Well, we'll get that taken care of pretty quick so you don't have to stick around.
Thank you guys. I really
Yep.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Was that last easement recorded?
All right, does anybody have anything else? If not, we'll take a break.
It probably was.
Oh, Chris, what?
We still have to find that.
Oh, sure. Well, you still got to talk?
Yeah.
And a couple other things.
Yeah, well, our real estate will take care of that.
So there's a public hearing tonight for the
You guys did that.
subsequent rural
we
development
did.
funding
I
for
assume we would.
proposed stabilization ponds. There's nothing to present, it's a box to check to keep that particular funding, the door open on that. We don't even know if that'll be the best route, mainly this is for the decommissioning and a little bit of the overruns. So there's nothing to present on that, tonight, so I guess, but again, the hearing is just a box we have to check. We talked about the assessments earlier, so we're calling for the public hearing on November 13th, and when I gave it to Shane, I used a template from a different resolution. I forgot to change the title, so item 11D, it should actually be calling for hearing on assessments, not, all the rest of the language in the resolution is correct, I just didn't change the title. And then there's the payment for Dunick, which there are, I guess I can do a quick update on that. They have 6 crews in town right now, between them and their subcontractors, and on Wednesday, I think they'll have 7 once the paving crew comes in, so there are 3 underground crews, 2 grading crews, a curb crew, and on Wednesday there'll be a paving crew, so they're thinking week after next they'll have everything paved, and then it'll be
Are they
down
gonna
to
just do
seating.
one paving this year and the one next year, or like they did before, or are they gonna do the whole thing?
The contract reads, they do the wear course, the top lift, but that's something we kind of disagreed with rural development on, and it was getting to the point where we just said, well, we'll argue with you about it again later. And the contractor is asking for an extension till spring, and we like doing that second lift the next year too.
Okay.
That way, if there is settlement or anything, even though it's warrant, or,
Well, it's not the end of the world. I mean, that's what we did on this project out here.
yeah, and we prefer it because it, especially with some deep sewer, if there's some trench settlement, they have to come back and fix it, but then you have a patch, and it's just
Right.
preferred patch it and then do the top coat
Right.
over everything. And there'll be some seeding that probably won't have taken, so we're gonna have to keep the contract open anyway. And some people that need to reroute their private service. Once they get that done, then Dunick can come back and sand fill some of the mains.
Sure.
But they're waiting on that, and that might not happen till sometime in December, so anyway. So they have their application for payments for $526,791.56. I think that's all I had on that end. All right.
Thank you. All right. 15 minutes. All right, we'll call to order the regular meeting of the Tracy City Council for Monday, October 23rd, 2017. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor, could you please give the invocation?
Gracious Lord God, we again pray that you be with each one here this evening, that you give wisdom to those things that are talked about, and that you guide us in those ways that you would have us be led. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 4, we got approval of the minutes from our meeting on October 9th, 2017. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Motion made in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda or changes to the agenda that's been presented?
We have, Mr. Mayor, we have 11E. It'll be a resolution 2017-84 to approve payment to Dunick for work completed. It'll be payment app number 6. You should have that next, yeah.
Yep.
Do we need to change D, the wording of it?
Yeah,
And then under 9D.
11D.
Oh yeah, 11D, the hearing for, it'll be the hearing for assessments, not approving plans and specifications.
Yep.
And that'll be for phase 1.
And then for 9D, all we have to discuss is the AFSCME negotiations.
That's correct.
I'd move approval as agenda.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, public comment. Anybody here from the public that wants to say something about, something that's not on the agenda?
Hello, my name is Rosemary Martin. I would ask you to please review City Code 2.30 Subdivision 2 and relate that to the article in the Tracy paper last week, the article written about Tony and Bill. One thing we learned from the Tracy paper last week is that Bill and Tony do not regard the city code or the charter, but put more weight on their own words. On October 10, 2016, as well as an instance on January 28, 2013, regarding the process of discussion regarding Kurt Anderson being awarded a quote to paint the fire truck, It was immediately identified as a conflict of interest. Matt Gross indicated that in order to enter into a contract with a council member's business, that member must abstain from voting on the matter and that the city must unanimously vote on the matter to approve it. It was also indicated by Matt Gross that it would require a resolution on the matter to approve it, and that before Kurt Anderson could be paid, he would have to submit a notarized affidavit. At the October 9th, 2017 meeting, Matt Gross indicated that if the insurance contract had already been contracted, it had already been in place when the proposed budget was approved. Chakosky would not have to identify it at that time. If this is true, when was it voted on by the council to enter into the contract for the insurance with Bill Chakosky? What date, and can you please provide a copy of the resolution affidavit that should have been on file for not only going into 2018, but for the year 2017? This conflict should have been addressed in January when he had took his oath and documents drawn up then. Were these documents drawn up? And if not, what repercussions for not following the same process and following our city code will be imposed? I understand that Matt Gross should cite Bill Chakosky with a gross misdemeanor if this is found to be an infraction. For Bill Chakosky not to abstain from voting regarding the vacate of a portion of 6th Street East, being the owner of the property adjacent to the street being vacated, by using any excuse erodes confidence in him as a city council member, plain and simple. Another thing we learned from the article in the Tracy paper is that neither Bill or Tony had any intention of allowing Madonna Peterson to be successful as a city administrator. Tony, the recall petition is verified and certified. This happened as a result of years of violating our city code. You received your copy of the petition, and by the middle of the next morning, your employer and your family members were calling people that had signed the petition to intimidate them for signing the petition. Shame. For once in your life, do the right thing and resign. Don't cause any further strife in the city by screaming and kicking. Another thing we learned in the article in the Tracy paper is that Tony says we have weak leadership. Steve, Pam, Dave, we have your back. Steve, censor, sanction, and call to order whenever and however that need arises. We as a city need the rest of you to follow our city code and start the much needed healing process for our city to thrive.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Let's move 9H, the request for access for road easement for Solar Garden, so we can get Andy out of here. Andy, we talked at our working session that, so let people know here that the construction of Solar Garden is going to start when?
We're hoping for early November. Pending, signing this access easement, we can put our road into the site, and then start fence work and hopefully putting in piles with the goal of starting to put in modules in early December.
Okay. And do we have a motion then to accept or enter into this easement agreement?
I'll make that motion.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I'll wait till they get that to me so I can sign it there.
Thank you, Steve.
Yep. Huh? All right. There was only one.
2 copies?
Yep, one stapled, one was paper clipped.
Oh, there is two. Look at that.
Yeah, he just needs a quick notary. I have a stamp if you need that. I can stamp it. I can do it.
And while people are waiting for me to spell my long last name, Andy, for people that have been by Granite Falls, seeing the solar project up that way, ours is similar in size, is that correct?
That's correct, they're both 3 megawatt projects, so we're excited to get it going and start construction here.
All right, thank you. Okay, the public hearings are what, is that 6:45, we got time?
6:40.
Oh, it's 6:40?
Yep, the first one's at 6:40.
All right, well, it's close to 6:40. We'll call a public hearing to amend the ordinance 613, Section 2, Subdivision 2, water line maintenance. And Shane, you want to give a little background for what that is?
Well, what this was is back, I want to say about 5, 6 years ago, could be more. They had a ordinance that actually added to the surcharge to for the city to take responsibility as like kind of an insurance policy to maintain a portion of the service line from the water main to the curb stop. The reason for that was the taps in the older mains were actually blowing out of the mains because of the age of the infrastructure. So they did this as to help keep the cost down for the homeowners that had that happen to them. It means most of the time it was in a road and it was a pretty significant amount of money to get it fixed. So what they want to do, what's being brought forward with this maintenance ordinance change is for the city to take responsibility of maintaining the curb stop itself in addition to the line. So they're changing it from up to the curb stop to the curb stop itself. So pretty much a couple words or one word will change. So.
Sounds good. Anybody here from the public want to talk about that? I'm assuming everybody's okay with the city taking more responsibility?
It's the same responsibility that we've had, isn't it, Shane?
Though the wording's more clear this time, so there's no issue.
It's the same one we've had for some time, yeah.
All right, so there's nothing. We'll refer it back to the council. Anybody have any questions or comments about the amendment to the ordinance?
Just to make it clear, Mr. Mayor, they're adding the curb stop as part of the city's responsibility now, where it was the homeowners prior to this change.
Yep.
And I would make a motion to amend ordinance 613, section 2.
One second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to the next public hearing. We'll call the public hearing to obtain subsequent rural development funding for the proposed stabilization pond. And Shane, a little background on that.
It's kind of a checkbox that needs to be filled for possible subsequent funding that may be coming up for the phase 1, phase 2, and possibly phase 3 projects. We don't know if we need it yet, but it's just a step we want to get through in the event we want to take advantage of those subsequent funding for rural development.
Okay. Anybody here from the public want to talk about that? Okay, refer it back to the council. Anybody have any questions or comments about getting this funding?
Do we need a motion or anything on that, or do we just? So I'd make a motion that we check the box to continue on for the rural development funding.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 9, going down to 9 petitions, requests, and communications. 9A, we had Wendell Sandy here at the working session to talk about the administrator position. And he collected, what did he say, 13?
Yep.
13 applications, and with his background and expertise in the area, he didn't deem any of the applications to be qualified. So his recommendation to us is that we reopen the position, advertise it in different spots where he would have access to, rewrite the job description, and keep it open for 90 days. And we have the contract that he sent. It's fairly minimal, that Matt has reviewed, and it's fine. And for the services that they're providing, I think it's well worth the expense. It's not much. and it's a valuable resource to have, and I appreciate that. He also said at the working session that he would give us recommendations if we wanted an interim city administrator to help. And I'm sure Shane would appreciate that. So he's going to get back with us in the next couple of days about whether or not there is someone that would be willing to help us. And he's placed interims before, and most of the time the interim is someone who is a retired city administrator to be able to help, so they would know what's going on. So, do we have a motion or any questions about anything that Wendell talked about? If not, is there a motion to enter into the agreement with him?
I'd make that motion.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 9B, we have the Special Assessment Committee, and we talked about that also at the working session, and the committee is going to meet Wednesday at 8 o'clock here to figure out what we're going to present for the special assessments for the projects that are going on. And that's that. Then there'll be a recommendation as to what we should do. Okay, next one.
Mr. Mayor, was that Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It is Wednesday?
Yep. Because he said that he could have the figure to Seth by tomorrow without having the max, the figure, and then we would talk about it on Wednesday. Okay, 9C, we have a cemetery board application for John Wendorf. Do we have a motion to appoint John?
I make a motion to appoint John to the cemetery board.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we got the request to close. I have a closed session to talk about the AFSCME negotiations.
Make a motion to close the meeting later for the union negotiations.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And while we're on that, one of the things that you guys had mentioned in the paper about there could be confusion in there about when we got closed meetings listed all the time, that people think we got closed meetings going on when we don't. So I think maybe unless we got a closed meeting, there's no need to put that on there. Because I think it was a specific headline each time saying closed meeting, and I think even if we didn't have one, and I think when people read the agenda, sometimes they thought we would have a closed session when we did. Does that sound all right? Yep. And then the other thing too, I think it's important, if it was brought up before too, that once after we approve the agenda, we might as well put in there formally to say whether or not anybody's got a conflict of interest. We could do that. Does that sound fair? Yeah?
Yeah.
Fair? Okay. 9E, request to waive the fee for the use of the multipurpose center for the Lions Club Soup Supper, November 25th.
I'd make that motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 9F, request to waive fee for the use of the VMC, the 50th anniversary of the Tracy tornado. Anybody have any questions or comments about that?
I make that motion.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. 9G, surplus sale. Shane, it looks like half the city is up for sale. And you want to explain what the procedure is going to be for everybody that's listening?
So, as of now, what we'll do is we'll put an ad in the paper for the next 2 weeks. We're not going to list everything because that ad would be a lot more than what we'll ever get for the surplus sale. But just saying that, refer to the city website. We'll also have available lists down here to view if anybody wants interested in anything on the list. We'll have pictures, hopefully by the end of the week on the website with the items, so you kind of know what you're bidding on. And then probably, looking at November, probably around November 10th, we'll have a sealed bid opening. So we'll have to submit your sealed bids to City Hall. And just write on there, make sure you write on what item you're bidding on, and they'll have some bid sheets down here also, so. Pretty much the same as we've done in the past, just lengthier list this time.
And we discussed that whatever we don't sell, we'll give to Goodwill
And/or dispose.
and/or dispose of it, yep. All right. Thank you. All right, next, 9A, recall petition and special recall election memo. And we had a discussion with Matt at the working session, and Matt explained what the procedure is that we would do tonight. And basically, I think if people are under the impression that we're going to conduct a mini trial as to what's going on or what's alleged, that we're not doing that, because it's just basically that it's been certified, that petition is fine, it's been certified by the clerk, and we just basically passed the resolution to set it for an election.
Correct. There is a legal memorandum if the public wants to review that. It provides a little bit more clarification with the code and state law, so it is accessible. I believe that's included in the packet, so the public can review that. It's a good way just to know the procedure and why the city's taking the action it is. It's basically a two-step process. Once the petition is received, Shane, the city clerk, basically takes an objective view of the petition and sees if the required number of signatures are on there, the registered voters, and whether the grounds alleged, not whether they're true or not, amount to misfeasance or malfeasance, which has been defined by state statute, again, and included in the legal memorandum. Based upon that, Shane has to determine the petition is sufficient, which he did, and then it's set on for the council to pass a resolution to hold the special recall election, which is in front of the council tonight. The charter is very clear on that, so once the petition's been deemed sufficient, which it has, then the council just passes the resolution for the election. The election, if passed, will occur on February 13th, 2018. That is the most recent date that the council can hold the election pursuant to state election laws. The city charter is somewhat outdated in regards to complying with the election laws. State law provides that special elections can only occur, I believe, on 6 or 7 dates throughout the year. So the first date available is that date of February. Again, the legal memorandum specifies and sets forth this out a little bit more clear, but it's a two-step process. Petition's been deemed sufficient, so the council must pass the resolution to hold a special election. There doesn't need to be any fact-finding whether the allegations are true or not. All it has to include is the grounds must amount to malfeasance or misfeasance. Not whether they're true or not, they just have to allege that level of conduct. So that's all that's required. And like the mayor said, the council does not need to hear testimony or accounts from individuals, whether they're for or against it. It's just simply, it's deemed sufficient, and then there's election.
Well, not only do we not have to, we can't.
Correct. And by certifying the petition sufficient doesn't mean that anything in the petition is true. Basically, the election is for the citizens to determine that.
Does that run normal election hours then, or do we have to set specific ones, or how does that work?
City staff will work with the auditor to comply with all the election laws. There's a bunch of steps that we need to follow.
I'm sure it's the same hours.
Like 7 to 8?
Yep, I don't think it can.
And the city will be required to post notice and all that. In addition with that, with the notice of the election, Councilmember Peterson, the subject of the petition, is allowed up to 500 words to address the allegations in the petition. So that will be included with the petition, or with the notice of the special election. And that's required by the charter provision, so.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Let's do that resolution then. We have a motion then to adopt resolution for holding a special recall election, resolution 2017-82.
I'd make that motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? Not to get, I appreciate you doing it. I don't know whether you can. I
Well, I was
mean,
just gonna ask if it's not a conflict of interest.
I just as soon not have you involved.
It'd be best,
Okay, I'll
yeah.
make the motion.
She makes it, I second it.
All right, motion made and seconded. And any other discussion? And Tony's going to abstain. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, that's that. We got 9J to call for a public hearing for the infrastructure improvements for Phase 1. We got November 13, 2017 at 6:45. Do we have a motion to set that date for the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, resolutions, 11A, we did that. Yeah, we didn't do that one, even though we said we got a bunch of stuff for sale. Do we have, it's a resolution declaring property no longer needed for public purpose, which is all the stuff Shane got.
Resolution.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, 11D, Resolution 2017-83, calling for a hearing on the assessments for Phase 1. Anybody have any questions or comments about that?
Make that motion. Second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Resolution 2017-84, approve payment to Dunick for work completed. Anybody have any questions about that?
Make the motion to approve that.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we got the consent calendar. We got the municipal accounts payable. We got the municipal accounts receivable. We got the department head reports that we discussed at the public, or at the working session that we had at 5:30. And approval of the multipurpose center minutes from 9/18/2017. Anybody have any questions or comments about the consent calendar?
Move approval of the consent.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Unfinished business. Don't have anything. New business. Nothing. Mayor and council communications. Does anybody have anything that the public's brought up to them? Because I got two things I want to wait. Or actually just one thing, I'm sorry. Anything? All right. For mayor and council communications, I was contacted by Coolor from Push. And I believe that their organization has used some office space here before. And they'd like to be able to utilize it a lot more. And they were just wondering if there's a way they could use it at a reduced rate, because they're going to start using it a lot more. Push is if you're not familiar, the ones that are thinking about purchasing Tracy Floral for the Hmong Cultural Center and interaction with the public to do community things like that. So until they get a permanent place, and they're looking here in town, and obviously that's a good thing, they like to be able to use the office space that we have here. And specifically the old council chambers, because she knows that'd be big enough.
That's already, the one upstairs already rented out to the Masons.
Masons got all their stuff up there.
It could go on the other side though.
Okay.
The dining area over there would be big enough for them, wouldn't it?
Well, what I'll do is have her contact you about that. But what I wanted to do, and I don't know what the fee is for that, but people can correct me and not disagree, but for them to use it, I'd like to be able to waive the fee for them to use it, especially considering that they want to invest in our town as much as they want to with their organization to buy thinking of anyway, buying Tracy Floral. So I don't know if.
I would make a motion to waive the fee to let Push use one of the facilities we have that are available to them.
Okay. Okay. I I appreciate that. And then Shane, if you can or I can email Koo and let her know that, or she'll probably be in contact with you.
Let her know the numbers.
Yep. Okay, so we had a motion to waive the fee so Push could use the upstairs, not the old council chambers, but the other side.
Should be room up in the, above the over.
Yep. Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by,
I have one question.
yes, ma'am.
Are the Masons getting charged?
Well, yeah, they signed the lease.
Yeah, and well, it's a good point, Pam, and we've talked about this before, that we were not gonna do this, that we weren't gonna be waiving fees. We've had other groups in here asking to waive. I understand that, but I thought we had all agreed we weren't gonna do that, and now if we're gonna, then we're setting that precedence again, so that's my.
Well, the one thing that I understand that, Bill. I think one of the things, though, is that the one distinction being is that until they get the permanent place, and having them invest in our community with their organization, I think is a plus. And anything that we can do to incentivize them.
Well, I agree, this has nothing to do with this
Yep.
specific person, though, or this.
No, I know that, I know that.
And we're talking about, I don't want them singled out either, it's not, but I just know we've had that discussion in the past, that we were not going to waive fees.
What do we charge the Masons?
$500 a year?
Yeah, it's minimal. And that was something, when they first started, they approached the council, we'd be willing to pay this.
Sure.
And they didn't know how much longer they'd do it, because they said they were getting to the point where the stairs were getting hard on them, so.
All right, well, we got the motion and seconded to allow Push to utilize the facilities upstairs free of charge.
There's one other difference between using the Masons, and they remodeled that room to suit for themselves. You know, they've got their ritual stuff set up there. So I don't think Push will be doing that, so. Just so it's out there, everybody knows about it.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Did you oppose, Bill?
Yes.
Okay, roll call?
Pam Corman?
Yea or nay?
Yay.
Say nay?
Yay.
Yay.
Dave?
Okay.
Tony?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Bill?
No.
All right, and the other thing that was brought up to me too is thinking about, since the winter's coming, and I know we've had discussions about this before, is to opening up the gym for public use at certain hours during the week. Say like if it's an open gym, I don't know, 6 to 8 every Thursday, Tuesday and Thursday or something. And I know we've talked about it before, and I guess the problem is staffing, to who's gonna watch it, and I don't know if the insurance is an issue or not. But I really think we need to look into opening it up for the public. I don't know, I've had people talk, to be utilized for basketball and other things, and I don't know what everybody's thoughts on that are. I mean, I'm trying, obviously we always say, yeah, open it up, that'd be cool. But logistically, do we have any issues that we need to address other than just saying, yeah, we'll just pick 2 days and see what happens?
I think we should get the school's opinion on that particular.
About when they
subject,
use it?
Yeah, and they paid for that floor and stuff, so they're doing the upkeep on it, so.
Yeah.
That would be my only, as long as they're happy with it, I'd open it up, but.
That and then our insurance, what does that cover? And then
Yeah,
are you
that's,
Yeah,
And then how are you gonna split the gym in half, so half can be basketball and half can be the rest, or no basketball and so, there just have to be some guidelines laid out.
yeah, I mean, even if, I understand that. I just wanted to see if there was any appetite whatsoever to allow that to occur. Because I know people would probably utilize it for walking and whatnot too, if it was open for a certain period of time. But the point is a good one about the school paying for that. I don't know, I think we should visit about it, especially since we're supposed to get snow on Friday. Makes you think about what you can do. We can help the community stay active, so. I don't,
Looking into.
yeah.
It's worth looking into.
If you can look, just see what our insurance situation is. I mean, it should be able to be covered for,
Have all entrants sign a liability waiver
Every time they use it or one-time type thing?
to one time. That would cover a year,
okay,
just to further protect the city.
okay. And then maybe we can reach out to the school district too to see if they, you know, we're obviously not gonna conflict with any time that they need to use it. But if they would be okay with the public using it, other times that are available. Since they're the ones that fronted the money to improve it. All right, anybody have anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn the closed session.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned, and we are closed, into closed session to talk about ASME negotiation. Thank you.